This is my secret realization to the world.
The Cipher of the Living Numbers, Finding Leibniz's Lost Manuscript, Part 1, The Discovery and the Disappearance. Prologue. Hanover, 12th April, 1696. Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz, already stooped by long nights bent over folios, taps a finishing flourish beneath a final Latin sentence. In a candle-lit silence, broken only by the scratch of his quill, he rereads the heading, De Stratis Numerorum, on the layers of numbers. The manuscript before him is not another disputation on infinitesimals for Bernoulli, nor a polite rejoinder to Newton's latest ally. It is, instead, a soaring metaphysical wager that the universe is composed of discrete harmonic units, monads numerici, whose interactions generate every apparent continuum. To keep the document safe from those who fear arithmetic as the devil fears holy water, Leibniz carefully sews a folded pamphlet of 44 leaves into an otherwise unremarkable parish chronicle and entrusts the volume to Brother Anselm, a Cistercian heading back to Orval Abbey in the southern Netherlands. As the carriage rattles away, Leibniz murmurs a last thought meant for posterity. One day someone will read this and know that reality itself can be factored. Brussels, present day. Dr. Helena Voss, philologist of early modern Latin at KU Leuven, is trudging through a drizzly April morning when an urgent message arrives from the National Library. Sister Clara of Orval claims to have something you must see. Bring a paleographer. Helena's discipline is thick with false alarms. Lost Descartes proofs, forgotten Erasmus sermons. But the abbess's name alone makes her pause. Orval's surviving manuscripts were catalogued exhaustively in 1962. Any addition would be seismic. She grabs her colleague, Dr. Tomoko Hirasawa, a Tokyo-trained codicologist famed for spotting 19th-century forgeries at 20 paces, and the two scholars board a southbound train. Orval Abbey's scriptorium. Sister Clara, a willowy Benedictine in wire-rimmed glasses, leads the pair beneath rib-vaulted ceilings to a long oak table. Waiting there is a ragged calfskin folio wrapped in linen. We found it behind a false panel in the sacristy last month while repairing water damage, she says. Tomoko lifts the linen. Inside is the parish chronicle of Saint-Amand-sur-Semois, 1694 to 1699, its pages mottled but intact. Helena's excitement grows. Regional chronicles seldom leave the abbey's walls, so provenance is impeccable. As she turns the leaves, her thumb catches the edge of an inserted quire stitched with unskilled hands. 10 seconds later, she is staring at a bold humanist title, De Stratis Numerorum. Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz. The text itself. Over the next 6 hours, Helena and Tomoko perform triage. Ink composition, oak gall with trace copper. Watermark, an imperial eagle used in Brunswick paper mills circa 1690s, and ductus, Leibniz's distinctive inverse hook G and the idiosyncratic long S that resembles a number 3. Every test points toward authenticity. More astonishing is the content. Leibniz begins by reaffirming his famous monadology, but then pivots. Si omnia monades sunt, numeri quoque monades sunt viventes. If all are monads, numbers too are living monads. He proposes that natural numbers possess ordinal valences that resonate like overtones in a musical chord. Primes form the fundamental frequency, composites the harmonics, and irrational magnitudes emerge where resonances superpose across layers, strata of numerical reality. The final section hints that by interleaving these strata, one might traverse ontological tiers, a claim Helena interprets as philosophical metaphor, until Tomoko, frowning, notes marginal diagrams that resemble three-dimensional lattices projected onto a torus. Enter the media. Word spreads faster than the scholars would have liked. By week's end, Le Soir runs a headline. Lost Leibniz found. The University of Göttingen offers to fund complete multispectral imaging. Oxford's Bodleian proposes temporary custodianship. Conspiracy forums erupt with claims that the text is the mathematical gospel of which Enlightenment occultists whispered. Helena, uneasy, issues a cautious public statement. Preliminary tests suggest 17th century origin, but authentication is ongoing. She hopes that will douse the flames. Instead, it pours gasoline. Strange footnotes in history. Retreating from the cameras, Helena digs through Leibniz's lesser-known correspondence. A 1704 letter to the Jesuit mathematician Grandi describes arithmetical souls that sing polyphonic theorems, and a 1706 reply to Sophia Charlotte of Prussia mentions a Belgian tract too radical for publication. No modern scholar has linked these remarks to any extant work. Meanwhile, Tomoko notices that the marginal lattices share topology with a 1620 engraving by Agostino Schiller titled Scala Harmonica, itself dedicated to followers of Pythagoras in spirit, if not in lineage. An unexpected patron. 3 days later, an emissary from the European Institute for Mathematical Metaphysics, an obscure think tank housed in a Vienna townhouse, arrives bearing a lavish grant proposal. €2 million for exclusive first publication rights. The Institute's crest features a tetractys within a laurel wreath. Its director, Baron Ulrich von Trebitsch, signs the cover letter. Helena declines politely. Unfazed, the emissary leaves behind a calling card embossed with a single Greek letter, Upsilon, the theft. Late on a moonless Thursday, Orval's CCTV cameras blink off for exactly 11 minutes, the outage blamed on a grid reboot. When power returns, the secure cabinet where the chronicle rested is empty. No forced entry, no broken locks. The only clue is a crimson ink sigil painted on the inside glass, a tetractys whose apex is replaced by an upsilon. Belgium's Federal Police dispatch Major Inspector Elias Vermeer, a polyglot detective who spent 5 years in Interpol's art crime unit. He interviews Sister Clara, Helena, Tomoko, and the Abbey's electricians. Every alibi holds, but Vermeer finds a discarded nitrile glove dusted with flecks of powdered rosin used by violinists to increase bow friction or by glass cutters to grip suction tools. A web of number mystics. Vermeer's background check on the Viennese Institute is unsettling. It is legally incorporated as Harmonikos Stiftung, a philanthropic research charity. Its advisory board includes an Italian luthier, a retired CERN accelerator engineer, and a Bulgarian numerologist expelled from the Union of Rationalist Societies. Digging deeper, Vermeer uncovers predecessor entities reaching back to 1883 Vienna, Gesellschaft der Zahlenfreunde, Society of Number-Tone Friends. Archival police records link the society to a 1907 break-in at Gauss's Göttingen archive and a thwarted attempt to steal the gilded Liber Abaci from Pisa in 1941. Each incident bore the same tetractys upsilon mark. Mathematical forensics. While investigators search for physical leads, Helena and Tomoko analyze the fragmentary smartphone photos Helena snapped before the theft. Using image enhancement software, they reconstruct a paragraph describing liminal divisors, integers whose prime factors, when mapped onto the unit circle through exponential encoding, form a closed geodesic. Leibniz suggests that sequences of such numbers act as keys capable of traversing layers. Helena consults Dr. Victor Petrov, a KU Leuven number theorist. Petrov observes that Leibniz essentially anticipates modern algebraic topology. The closed geodesic is a first homology generator of a toroidal manifold embedded in a higher dimensional moduli space. If the manuscript is genuine, it carries anticipations of mathematics 2 centuries early. Pursuit into Austria. Interpol traces the nitrile glove's batch number to a Vienna surgical supply warehouse whose CCTV captures a tall woman purchasing 4 boxes the day before the theft. Facial recognition identifies her as Ingrid Meyerhofer, a former graduate student expelled from the University of Innsbruck's musicology department for allegedly using ultrasonic transducers to find hidden resonances in medieval instruments. Vermeer, Helena, and Tomoko fly to Vienna, coordinating with Inspector Daniela Weiss of the Austrian Bundeskriminalamt. Surveillance of Meyerhofer's known associates leads them to an abandoned spa complex on the edge of the Wienerwald. Infrared drones spot multiple heat signatures around what was once a hydrotherapy pool. At its center stands a wooden lectern illuminated by battery lanterns. Harmonic convergence. Inside the spa, Vermeer's team finds the walls chalked with cascading rows of integers. Some numbers are circled in triads, others are connected by lines that form triangles in ratios of 3 to 4 to 5, classic Pythagorean harmonics. On a cracked mosaic floor lies a prototype of a double helix pendulum, 2 brass bobs pivoting in opposite phase, inscribed with the primes 2 and 3. Yet the manuscript is nowhere. Instead, a single folio sheet sits on the lectern. It bears a handwritten cipher beginning, "Let the liminal divisors guide you," followed by a string of 97 integers. Weiss's cyber division runs them through factorization software. The numbers unfold into prime sequences that, plotted modulo various bases, trace the outline of Europe. A red pin marks a small town in the Alps, Hallstatt. Echoes in salt caverns. Hallstatt, Austria, is postcard perfect. Pastel boathouses mirrored in a glassy lake, but beneath its charm run Neolithic salt tunnels extending miles into the Dachstein Massif. Legend claims Pythagoreans sought echo chambers here to test theories of cosmic harmony. Meyerhofer's cell phone geodata, now triangulated, places her in Hallstatt 3 hours earlier. The Austrian Federal Railways report one passenger purchased 8 freight tickets in her name, booking cargo space for a scientific exhibition. Vermeer suspects the manuscript is locked inside one of those crates. Into the mountain. Equipped with thermal cameras and speleological gear, the joint Belgian-Austrian task force descends the Salzburgwerk shaft. Distorted flute-like tones waft toward them. Someone deeper inside is playing a glass harmonica, Benjamin Franklin's 18th century experiment in musical vibrations. The path forks. Chalk arrows on wooden beams indicate irrational angles square root 2, square root 3 rather than compass points, forcing the team to solve geometric riddles to proceed. Finally, in a cathedral-sized cavern, aglow with phosphorescent halite, they spot an altar of stacked crates. Atop it rests a steel strongbox emblazoned with the tetractys upsilon. As Vermeer approaches, a voice amplified by hidden speakers recites, in archaic Greek, a fragment from Philolaus. When number marries fire, a gate opens unto the cosmos. The trigger equation. Laser tripwires crisscross the strongbox. Helena recognizes the patterns. They form a 27-line magic square attributed, perhaps apocryphally, to Zhang Heng. One wrong foot could trigger charges. Tomoko produces a pocket projector and slides a digital overlay of the square onto the beams, revealing safe paths based on matching parity. Vermeer reaches the box and discovers a biometric lock requiring a 5-tone chord hummed through a microphone. The chord, F-A-C-E-G, is an F major ninth, numbers 4, 6, 8, 3, 7 in just intonation ratios. Helena hums the chord. The lock clicks open. Inside, disappointingly, is not the manuscript, but a single antique metronome whose pendulum arm is set to 168 beats per minute, 1 beat per decade since Leibniz's death. A brass plate reads, "Keep time, seek further stratum." Cliff edge. Moments later, the cavern shakes. Distant explosives collapse a side tunnel. Through swirling salt dust, the investigators spot Meyerhofer and 2 masked figures racing toward an exit ladder, the chronicle clutched in a waterproof cylinder. They vanish into blackness as the task force scrambles to avoid falling debris. When the tremors cease, Vermeer realizes their quarry has forced them onto a side route that ascends into an uncharted gallery. The only illumination comes from veins of green fluorescing sylvite. On the cavern wall, scrawled in chalk, is a final taunt. Prime, 5077 is the door. Composite its key. Find us where the octave spirals. Suspended in dust and uncertainty, Helena feels the centuries converging. Leibniz's monads, Pythagorean harmonics, and a modern cult willing to weaponize mathematics. Somewhere ahead lies a portal, perhaps metaphorical, perhaps literal, whose threshold is encoded in numbers. She tightens her grip on the useless metronome and follows Vermeer into the darkness. The chase, she knows, has only begun. Part 2. Through the harmonic labyrinth. Resonant corridors. The makeshift chalked sign, Prime 5077 is the door, composite its key, echoes in Helena's mind as she and the task force thread the newly exposed gallery. Inspector Vermeer radios for a geological map. None of the surveyed passages mention a spiral octave. Tomoko, shining her torch along the glimmering sylvite walls, notices evenly spaced drill holes, no older than a year. Someone built a resonance tunnel, she murmurs. She claps her hands once. The report bounces, returns amplified, re-echoes a fifth higher, an acoustical quirk of a helix-shaped conduit that narrows and widens at Fibonacci intervals. The cult has literally tuned the mountain. Liminal devices, revisited. The mathematician Dr. Victor Petrov, kept on standby in Leuven, messages Helena a spreadsheet. 5077 factors only into itself, and one, but its primitive abundant multiples share a curious property. 10,154 divides, 101,540 divides, 1,015,400, and so on, each ratio 10. Stack them, Petrov suggests, and you get a geometric progression that converges in logarithmic spirals. Helena realizes that by treating 5077 as radius and its abundant composites as successive radials, a polar plot yields a perfect 8-turn spiral, the octave, visually encoded. Somewhere in the mine, a passage must loop 8 times around a central shaft. A covert cartographer. Weiss's engineers deploy a swarm of micro-UAVs equipped with LiDAR. Within minutes, a point cloud model appears on their tablet. An ascending corkscrew gallery wraps 270 meters around a molten salt vent. At each full 45-degree sector, the ceiling dips, forming what appear to be venturi flutes carved into halite. Air shunted through them would whistle at specific frequencies. They're building a pipe organ you can walk through, Tomoko remarks. Vermeer designates 4-person teams to breach the spiral from opposite ends, while the main group advances steadily, disabling motion detector tripwires mapped by the drones. The first, cadenza. Midway up the spiral, the investigators encounter a bronze armillary sphere suspended from steel cables. Its rings carry etched integers in silver inlay. Tomoko traces finger over one, 2,231, a prime, and beneath it, smaller, 4,462, the composite double. Each sphere ring matches a diatonic step. When spun, magnets hidden in the joints trigger solenoids in the flute vents, producing an eerie G-Dorian mode that rebounds through the gallery. The sonic pressure slams shut a quartz-filled sluice behind the team, sealing their retreat. Helena sketches the ring numbers, all primes of the form, 4, n plus 3. Gaussian primes on the imaginary axis, she whispers. In complex analysis, such numbers tile space with 90-degree rotational symmetry, mirroring the quarter turns of the spiral. An unexpected ally. Static crackles in Vermeer's earpiece. Inspector, this is Dr. Lucas Rausch, Geological Service. Your comms relay is piggybacking our network. I need 10 seconds. Rausch, an Austrian hydrogeologist, claims to have been monitoring seismic anomalies coincident with the cult's blasting. They've bored into a paleo-hydrothermal vein still saturated with supersaline brine. If they trigger flow, entire galleries could flood. He offers real-time sonar from sensors he placed months earlier while surveying. Helena distrusts the sudden helper, but Weiss vets the ID. Rausch lost funding after warning that esoteric groups were bribing miners to dig illegally. Ganymede's Gate, the elevator of echoes. At spiral apex, the gallery opens into a vertical shaft where a rusty mine cage hangs by woven Kevlar cable. A plaque names it Porta Ganymedis, an odd honorific until Helena recalls Leibniz's admiration for Kepler's moons of Jupiter. Ganymede symbolizes the ascent of mortals to the realm of gods. Power cables snake into the dark above. A keypad on the cage door requests a 5-digit code. Tomoko frowns. 5077 is 4 digits. Composite multiples? Helena enters 10,154. No response. Petrov texts a hunch. In modulo 9-digit sums, 5 plus 0 plus 7 plus 7 equals 19, 1 plus 9 equals 10, 1 plus 0 equals 1-point composite, 10,154 sums to 1 plus 0 plus 1 plus 5 plus 4 equals 11, then 1 plus 1 equals 2. Next, 101,540 goes to 3, and so on. A sequence 1 to 5, 5 spirals. The cult needs 8. Helena presses 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The pad chirps green. The cage ascends slowly through a cylindrical resonator lined with brass ribs. Every 10 meters a rib strikes the cage frame, tuning the climb with the overtone series of A110 Hz, 110, 220, 330, until the 8th rib hits 880 Hz, a 1 octave higher than concert A. The ride ends at a landing braced by massive timber, candles guttering in salted air. Catacomb of the antiphon. Vaulted enclosures radiate outward like spokes. Each chamber contains an instrument, a glass harmonica, a monochord, a set of tuned basalt stones, and, in the center cell, a Holbein-built pipe organ whose longest pipe disappears into darkness. Sheet music on the organ stand reads Antiphon ad monadem vivum, notated on a staff where clefs alternate treble and chiavette soprano, a Renaissance device for upward transposition. Helena skims the Latin lyrics. Number alone gives birth to the laddered worlds, unfold the door of prime, entwine the composite coil. Tomoko discovers a photogrammetry rig aimed at the organ keyboard. USB cables lead to a workstation running custom software called Stratum Key. A splash screen demands sequence all 8 layers. She inspects the organ pipes, grouped in octaves, but each octave colored. Rubidium red, indigo, jade, amber, cerulean, ivory, obsidian, and argent. Under ultraviolet light, the keys fluoresce matching hues. A side monitor displays a 3D rendering of a torus subdivided into 8 concentric donuts. Leibniz's strata writ digital. Ingrid Meyerhofer's broadcast. The system pings, a live video feed appears. Ingrid Meyerhofer, visage streaked with mineral dust, addresses them from a yet undisclosed location. Welcome, seekers. You survived the lower chords, but your presence here is premature. The manuscript will reveal itself only when the harmonic gate is tuned without error. Fail, and the mountain will dissolve in its own tears. Succeed, and we all transcend. She turns the camera, showing the chronicle sealed within a vacuum cube suspended over a vat of viscous brine. Electrodes snake into the fluid. Conductivity threshold, 20 millisiemens per centimeter. One more leak, and the cube sinks. Play well. The feed cuts. Organomics? Petrov, on VoiceLink, suggests each octave might map to a coset in Z/8Z. Think of monads as residue classes. You must produce a sequence whose cumulative residues equals 0. Helena, ex-church organist in her youth, volunteers at the keys. Tomoko aligns the photogrammetry rig. Vermeer stands by the workstation, ready to confirm. Layer 1. Red. Helena selects a simple rising arpeggio. AC sharp E. Residues 0, 2, 4. Sum equals 6 mod 8. Layer 2. Indigo. She counters with EGB-461. Running sum equals 17 to 1 mod 8. Layer 3, jade, DFA-350. Running sum equals 9 to 1. Still off. Tension climbs, pumped somewhere deep in a gurgle of brine within rock seams. Layer 4, amber. She risks a diminished triad, BDF-135. Running sum equals 10 to 2. Disaster. Rausch radios a warning, salinity spikes. Helena closes her eyes, recalls Leibniz's dictum, compossibility governs harmony. Compossibility, concepts must coexist without contradiction. She restarts, this time building symmetrical pairs. Octave leaps mirrored around middle C. Petrov calculates such palindromic sequences produce residue sums that cancel. New attempt. Helena plays. Layer 1, A to C sharp, to E, to C sharp, to A. 0, 2, 4, 2, 0, to 8, to 0. Layer 2, G, B, D, B, G, 6, 1, 3, 1, 6, 17, 1. Layer 3, F, A, C, A, F, 5, 0, 2, 0, 5, 12, 4. Layer 4, E, G, B, G, E, 4, 6, 1, 6, 4, 21, 5. Still wrong. Tomoko notices the UV fluorescence intensity changes with each key. Red keys flash weaker on offbeats, blue keys brighter. She hypothesizes the system wants dynamic weighting, not just pitch. She instructs Helena to accent alternate tones according to the Fibonacci rhythm 1, 1, 2, 3, 5. Petrov models residue weightings. Results align to 0 after 8 layers if Fibonacci amplitudes are used. Helena takes a breath, plays the 8-layer canon, each note struck with weightings that follow the Fibonacci cadence. The pipes roar and hush in living waves. Stratum key console glows. Harmonic lattice balanced. Proceed to supralayer. Supralayer, the Mobius platform. A hidden door slides open. Beyond lies a narrow catwalk twisting like a Mobius strip, its surface laminated with copper foil etched into prime spirals. Every half-turn inverts the deck, so the team walks a single-sided path. At midpoint stands a pedestal and a notebook computer. Auto-focusing cameras verify faces. A script greets Helena by name. Final validation, answer the Leibniz question. On-screen appears, given that all possible worlds strive toward maximal harmony, demonstrate whether the set of liminal divisors is countably infinite or transfinite, and justify using modern set theory. Tomoko curses. This is no puzzle but a peer review exam. Yet Helena recalls a half-translated passage from De Stratis Numerorum. Liminal divisors occupy the threshold between enumeration and unbounded. She dictates to Petrov, who numpy benchmarks a proof sketch. Liminal divisors correspond to closed geodesics on a toroidal lattice indexed by coprime pairs. There are countably many coprime pairs, ergo the set is countable. However, embedding these geodesics across all possible modern tori yields an inaccessible cardinal, transfinite. The key line, countable per stratum, uncountable in union across stratified infinity. Helena types, both. In any fixed stratum SK, liminal divisors form a countably infinite subset of N. The union, Kn SK, when equipped with the product topology induced by the interstratum resonance metric D, has cardinality 2 to the power of Aleph 0. Hence, liminal divisors are countable locally, transfinite globally, mirroring Leibniz's compossibility. The system pauses, then displays a single integer, 44. Vermeer notes the manuscript was 44 leaves. Tomoko remembers the Cistercian rule. The number 44 marks the hymn Querit primum regnum Dei, an ulterior pointer. The catwalk tilts, ferrying them onto a hidden lift that descends into the mountain's oldest workings, the Hall of Quadrivium. They arrive in a chamber whose pillars are carved with bas-reliefs of arithmetic, geometry, harmony, and astronomy, the medieval quadrivium. Centered under a skylight shaft stands a heptagonal pool, water rippling from a spring. Above, daylight filters blue. They must be near the cliff face. On the pool's lip rests an antique astrolabe, a violin bow, and a brass dissecting compass with ivory legs labeled Phi and Psi. Meyerhofer's voice returns via ceiling speakers. To cross, a line number with form. Fail and the spring becomes a siphon. Helena studies the astrolabe. Its rete shows unusual stars labeled Pi Arietis, Phi Ophiuchi, etc. Greek letters mapping irrational constants to constellations. Tomoko recalls Pythagoreans linked musical intervals to stellar separations. She bows the violin bow across the astrolabe's edge. The bronze sings at approximately 272 Hz, close to middle C sharp, approximately 277 Hz, but tempered by water absorption. Petrov calculates a scale. 272 Hz corresponds to the square root of 2 relative to base frequency 192 Hz. They want square root ratios. The brass compass legs Phi and Psi span a map engraved into the floor, nested golden rectangles intersected by logarithmic spirals. Vermeer spots a narrow footbridge retractable across the pool. Its release lever is locked by twin dials set to angles. One dial graduated 0 to 360 degrees, the other 0 to pi radians. Helena positions the compass so leg Phi marks the rectangle's diagonal. The angle subtended equals arctan 1 over Phi, approximately 31.7 degrees. She sets the degree dial. The radian dial must mirror. According to P's equals 1 minus Phi, approximately 0.382. Multiplying by pi yields 1.20 rad. She aligns the dial. The bridge extends. Halfway, water levels surge. Meyerhofer triggers the siphon. Waves slosh. The bridge begins to fold. Tomoko brandishes the violin bow and draws a glissando that slides from 272 Hz up to 432 Hz, the Pythagorean harmonic balance frequency. The water calms as if resonating into standing waves that damp turbulence. The team crosses just as sluice gates clang shut behind them. Revelations in the ribs of stone. Next comes a narrow fault cleft. Seismographs on Rausch's sensors alert. Microquakes are clustering here. Helena shines UV along the fracture. German phrases in invisible ink glow. Veritas est multiplex. Mensura ius numerus est. Truth is manifold, its measure is number. Tomoko pries loose a thin limestone plate to find a concealed data stick. Back at the laptop, she decrypts files, schematics for an underground particle interferometer labeled M-Portal Stage 1. The design repurposes the salt mine's tunnels as waveguides for entangled muons produced by a compact cyclotron. Meyerhofer's cult intends to literalize Leibniz, layering quantum number states to pierce ontological membranes. This is not metaphor. They plan an experiment tonight at 2244 Cest, the Cyclotron Cathedral. Descending again, the party emerges into a cavern far larger than any previous. Once a 19th century extraction hall, now retrofitted with coil conduits and liquid helium dewars. A cyclotron ring 6 meters across thrums with low frequency. Target chamber sits in the center, the chronicle cube mounted inside a transparent Faraday cage. Meyerhofer stands at a dais with 2 figures, Baron Ulrich von Trebitsch and, shockingly, Dr. Lucas Rausch, the ally who guided them. Rausch removes a false beard. He is Franz Nicholas Trebitsch, Ulrich's cousin. Their family descends from Guido von List, Austrian esoteric nationalist who fused Pythagorean mysticism with number race theories. Meyerhofer greets Helena. Dr. Voss, we require you to witness authenticity before the portal opens. Scholar's oath. Ulrich activates a holoprojector. Multispectral images of the 44 leaves scroll by. Tomoko's eyes widen. Leaf sequences differ subtly from the photos she took. Each Latin paragraph is the same, but the marginal diagrams mutate across images as if encoded to animate. Frame by frame, circles unroll into helices, primes into lattice knots. Final image converges into a double splitting pathway, 2 exits. The choice of 2 worlds. Meyerhofer explains, Leibniz modeled reality as branching monads. The manuscript's diagrams are not static, they are instructions that respond to observation. Quantum erasure forerunner. When the cyclotron entangles muon pairs across the resonant lattice of this mine, the diagrams will collapse into one of two macrostates: continuity, where the world remains layered but impermeable, or perforation, where strata interweave. Helena debates, you'll create a decoherence catastrophe. Rausch counters, only at Planck scale, but symbolic resonance amplifies quantum outcomes. Our ancestors intuited number portals. We supply the engineering. Vermeer draws his sidearm. Guards appear with suppressed MP5s. Ulrich offers Helena a remote. 2 buttons, continuity or perforation. Scholar of languages, choose which text the world deserves. Either way, the cube unlocks and you keep the manuscript. A mathematician's bluff. Petrov, voice only, murmurs in Helena's earpiece. They cannot guarantee collapse path, but superposition obeys amplitude weighting. If you feed contradictory boundary conditions, system oscillates. No macroscopic decoherence. Helena recalls the antiphon of the living monad. Lyrical stanzas fold into one another in perfect retrograde inversion, self-cancelling harmony. She asked to sing before choosing, so Leibniz's words witness the decision. Ulrich smirks, allows it. Helena steps to the cyclotron dais, begins chanting the Latin antiphon in cancrisons, backward and forward simultaneously by exploiting palindromic phrases. Tomoko quietly pivots a parabolic microphone toward the dais, feeding the chant into the cyclotron's phase lock circuit. The feedback injects sub-kilohertz jitter into the muon timing, decohering the entanglement envelope. Sensors flash red. Phase misalignment, plus or minus pi/4. Meyerhofer lunges to cut audio, but Vermeer fires. Chaos erupts. Ulrich's guards open automatic fire over the cyclotron ring, but stray bullets glance off superconducting magnets, releasing helium vent clouds that blanket vision in shimmering fog. Joists groan, saline seams fissure. Catastrophe in C minor. Alarms wail, dies eerie in synthesized tones. The cult embedded Gregorian samples into safety klaxons. The cyclotron's RF cavity overloads, copper windings glow. Petrov yells, 20 seconds to quench. Helena sees the cube's maglocks disengage as planned. The chronicle tumbles onto the floor. Saltwater sprays as pipes rupture, droplets turning into instant crystals in frigid helium mist. Tomoko grabs the manuscript. Pages flutter, yet remain dry thanks to the cube's hydrophobic lining. Meyerhofer, coughing, shouts, "You doomed both outcomes!" The stratum cannot stay closed now. Rausch drags her toward an emergency shaft marked Harmonicos, exit only. Before the team can pursue, the cyclotron explodes inward. Magnets slam together with titanic clangs, creating a localized gravitational slingshot that hurls the Faraday cage across the cavern. Lights fail. Only the eerie glow of Cherenkov flashes within water puddles guides them. Helena, Vermeer, Tomoko, and Weiss scramble into a secondary adit as rock fractures propagate like lightning. Behind, the chamber implodes, entombing equipment, cultists, and perhaps an unborn portal. Part 3. The unfolding of strata. Entombed in the resonance mine. Helena Voss coughs brine crystals from her lungs as she, Vermeer, Tomoko, and Inspector Weiss huddle behind a granite buttress in total dark. The cyclotron hall has collapsed. Vibrations still prickle the soles of their boots. Over the comm, Dr. Petrov's voice crackles weakly, surface antennae severed, signal fading. The only light comes from the manuscript clutched under Helena's coat. Faint bluish glyphs pulse across the vellum, as though the ink itself fluoresces with leftover Cherenkov charge. Vermeer shines a penlight. Shafts blocked. Last backup map shows an adit toward the prehistoric salt slides, Roman level. Weiss studies the rock, a fault plane slick with halite slopes gently upward. If we can reach Gallery 9, we may find daylight. They start the climb, boots crunching crystalline salt, manuscript glowing softly like a handheld constellation. A manuscript alive. After 20 minutes, the tunnel widens into an abandoned winze. Wind sighs through drilled boreholes, forming a low F drone. Each gust brightens the manuscript and rearranges marginalia into fresh labyrinth patterns. Tomoko gasps, diagrams morph frame by frame, no human animator required. Helena tears a scrap of gauze, holds it near the ink. Nanoripples shimmer across the fibers, aligning like ferrofluid in a magnetic field. She realizes the manuscript has absorbed ionized muon tracks from the cyclotron burst, adding a quantum layer of information. Leibniz once wrote, "Monads mirror the universe. In alteration, they reveal it anew." Pursuit survives. Voices echo behind. Meyerhofer and Rausch emerge through a ventilation crawl space, bruised but alive, two remaining cultists hauling equipment cases. They, too, head toward the Roman galleries, guided by handheld Geiger counters chirping at each residual muon burst. Vermeer motions silent haste. They reach a junction where wooden ladders, blackened by ancient torches, ascend into a cavity ribbed with log supports. A frayed sign, Gallery Pax Romana, points upward. Helena whispers, "Roman engineers lifted salt via capillary ropes here. Galleries interlock. Maybe we can loop back, outflank them." Weiss agrees, drawing chalk arrows so Petrov's surface team can follow. The Roman Hippocaust. They exit into a vaulted chamber whose floor is webbed with flues, an ancient Hippocaust furnace. Warm air still breathes from geothermal fissures far below. In the center stands a rusted bronze altar once dedicated to Salus, goddess of safety. On it rests a lead scroll case immured in crusted salt. Latin characters faintly incised, Manus Numerorum. Tomoko's heart stutters. Could Romans have preserved earlier drafts? She peels the lid. Inside, only a cube of polished hematite, etched with a 4x4 magic square. The classic low shoe, sum 34. Each number is rendered in Greek Milesian numerals. Helena places Leibniz's manuscript near the cube. Ink flows until the marginalia reconfigure into a 4x4 grid of primes corresponding to the low shoe pattern. 2, 11, 17, total of 34 primes between 2 and 149. The manuscript hums, a faint electrostatic trill. Vermeer steps back. Weiss murmurs, "It's aligning epochs, Roman magic square, Baroque metaphysics, modern particle data." The arithmetic compass. A Roman escape shaft ascends above the Hippocaust, capped by a conical plug of tuff 60 meters thick. Centuries of miners carved spiral stairs around it, now partly collapsed. Tomoko notes the low shoe's central prime is 41, the latitude of Rome. Perhaps the square is an orientation compass. She overlays a transparent ruler. Grid diagonal northwest to southeast aligns with their current tunnel vector by 41 degrees. She suspects a hidden hydraulic lift along that line. Vermeer and Weiss pry flagstones on the diagonal. Steam rushes up, revealing a vertical duct. They tether ropes and rappel. Halfway, walls flash red strobe. Meyerhofer's faction above has triggered pursuit beacons. A gunshot ricochets. Shards of tuff rain down. Vermeer returns fire, forcing retreat. The four descend to a dead-end sump. Water churns 6 meters below. Leibniz's prime gate. Helena flips pages until Metavellum reveals the earlier liminal divisors diagram, a torus whose meridian is labeled 5077, latitude 10,154, etc. She superimposes the low shoe square on the torus. Every corner prime touches the spiral path exactly at 8 knots. She guesses the sump hides a plug key to octaval prime sums. Examining wall niches, they find 16 rusted iron pegs, 4 per side. Helena and Tomoko insert pegs corresponding to the low shoe reading order, 2 to 11 to 17 to 23. Water drains clockwise, forming a whirlpool that uncovers a stone vault door. Vermeer strains the vault wheel, gears groan, door opens onto a 2-meter-high ribbed corridor exhaling pine-scented air, fresh at last. But behind them, Meyerhofer shouts, "Drop the manuscript or drown in history!" She fires, bullet grazing the hematite cube. Sparks emit, Faraday patterns ripple, and the whirlpool reverses violently. The logical sacrifice. Water gushes, rising to hip height. Helena thinks fast. The hematite cube can restore stability. It's ferromagnetic. She rolls the cube back into the whirlpool. Magnetic drag slows the vortex, buying seconds. She, Tomoko, and Weiss scramble through the vault. Vermeer stays, covering retreat. He yells, "Go! Bring this to the world." Door slams, locking automatically. A muted firefight echoes. Then silence, but for water hammering rock. Emergence at Hallstatt Ridge. Helena's trio crawl along the ribbed passage that steepens until sunlight pries through a limestone slit. They step onto a ledge overlooking Hallstatt Lake, shimmering below. Helicopter rotors thrum distantly. Austrian Alpine rescue mobilized by Petrov. Weiss fires a flare. The three slump, soaked, manuscript intact. Rescue climbers belay them down a via ferrata. Tomoko presses a thermal blanket over Helena's shoulders. Ink glow fades as manuscript cools, accounting for the dead and missing. At Salzburg University Hospital, Interpol debriefing reveals the cyclotron hall is fully collapsed, radiation negligible, no signals from Meyerhofer's radios. Vermeer is missing, presumed dead, though seismographs show a void near the hypocaust that could contain survivors. Rausch, Trebich's body unconfirmed. Meanwhile, Orval Abbey reports its server hacked, all high-resolution manuscript scans erased. Whoever escaped may yet possess digital copies. Authentication Committee. Within a week, a joint panel convenes in Brussels. KU Leuven, the Académie des Sciences, Oxford's Merton Chair, Germany's Leibniz Archive. Helena, Tomoko, and Petrov present the salvaged folio encased in inert gas glass. Raman spectroscopy confirms original oak gall ink overlaid by muon-induced oxidative states never before observed. Physical dating of parchment matches 1690s goat vellum from Lower Saxony. Novelty is undeniable. Petrov models the liminal divisor framework. To colleagues' shock, it forecasts resonance patterns in prime factor graphs that match unexplained energy states in graphene quantum dots reported the previous month in Nature Physics. A speculative paper forms pre-Einsteinian anticipation of topological quantum field resonances by G.W. Leibniz. Peer reviewers balk at time travel insinuations, but math holds. The recursive codex. Tomoko notices something still stranger. When images of the manuscript are projected at 73.2% scale, the golden section of A-series paper, the diagrams animate slowly via color aliasing, similar to moire scanning. Frames reveal a hidden Latin palimpsest, qui legit intellegat, strata ipsa volvuntur. Let whoever reads understand, the layers themselves roll. Each reread triggers different marginal patterns, as though the codex rewrites in response to reader cognition. Neuroscientist Dr. Anja Ekberg volunteers to test. fMRI shows subject-specific gamma synchrony spikes while reading, consistent with aha moments. Manuscript ink may act as a metamaterial lens, filtering light into microtime delays that engage predictive coding in the cortex, effectively a thought-interactive text. Leibniz, famous for wanting to build a characteristica universalis, appears to have engineered a primitive neuro-responsive medium. Vermeer's last message. 3 weeks later, Helena receives an encrypted email from a throwaway server in Innsbruck. Attachment: a damp photograph showing Vermeer alive, weary, standing beside Meyerhofer in a makeshift infirmary carved from timber beams. Behind them, the hematite cube now halved, exposing concentric laminations of copper, lead, and strangely, living moss. Caption: we hold the hinge. Manuscript incomplete without its countertext. GPS metadata scrubs locate image near Capron Hydro Station tunnels. Interpol traces nothing, but Petrov deciphers the cube's layered metals, copper-lead superconductive Josephson junctions, to stabilize quantum tunneling at 272 Hz, the root 2 frequency Tomoko identified. The moss is Schistidium maritimum, thrives on saline spray. How does it survive underground? Helena hypothesizes the cube is a biocircuit bridging organic synapses with superconductive cores, making the manuscript cube pair a holistic system. Without the cube, the manuscript may degrade into incomprehensible permutations. The mirror manuscript. At Orval, Sister Clara recalls an apocryphal mention of a dark twin to Leibniz's treatise, the Abysso Numerorum, on the abyss of numbers. Abbey scholars dismissed it. No copy located. Tomoko suggests the cube contains the dark twin, encoded magnetically in laminations, accessible only through superconductive scanning. Helena's Institute builds a cryogenic nano-squid probe. At 4K, the cube's magnetic strata resolve into high-density spin domains, resembling QR patterns in 3D. Flattened cross-sections show Latin paragraphs counterpointing the manuscript. Where Stratis speaks of harmony, Abysso speaks of necessary rupture, duality of continuity and perforation. Leibniz wrote both treatises, stored one in vellum, the other in living ferrite. Reading Abyssus aloud near the manuscript produces cross-interference. Ink gleams, diagrams stabilize, no longer random. The two halves complete a dialogic calculus, Leibniz's ultimate dyad monadica. Helena realizes Mayrhofer's cult misunderstood. The portal is metaphysical, cognitive, a structured dialectic enabling minds to traverse conceptual strata, not bodies through space. The final stratification. Helena proposes an experiment broadcast live to skeptical academics. Recite selected passages from both Stratis and Abyssus while displaying synchronized diagrams. Volunteers wear EEG caps. As antiphonal reading commences, participants' gamma rhythms entrain across diverse languages, mathematics, Latin, English, until cross-spectral coherence peaks. Observers experience a fleeting cognitive illusion. Prime factor trees appear overlaid on everyday objects, reality tessellated in number lattices. In post-study interviews, 91% report seeing multi-layered realities for microseconds, subjective but consistent. Media brands it the Leibniz glimmer, memes abound. Yet serious journals cautiously accept data indicating a replicable neuroharmonic effect, stronger than typical Ganzfeld or ASMR phenomena. Funding flows for deeper studies on math-induced unified qualia. The cult reorganizes. A manifesto surfaces on dark web servers, signed Harmonicos Delta, praising Helena for advancing the portal but condemning her domestication of its power. The document includes a snippet of Abyssus. When monads unify, choice begets worlds. Analysts fear radical cells may attempt coercive brain entrainment events, thought bombs. Europol forms Task Force Monad, led by Inspector Weiss. Helena consults. Vermeer's fate remains unknown. The surprising ending, a letter from 1697. Late autumn, postal staff at KU Leuven deliver to Helena a plain packet bearing a wax seal with the Brunswick lion, Leibniz's crest. Inside is a folded parchment, aged as if 3 centuries old, but surface dated to weeks prior. Ink reads, in Leibniz's hand beyond statistical doubt, "To the honored doctor who will inherit these thoughts, understand that the layers of number are not mere symbols, but operators upon possibility. No portal is of stone, every gate rises in the mind. You, who live when calculus is commonplace, must guard the dyad entire, lest zealots rend worlds in pursuit of melodies they cannot hear. Remember, continuity and perforation. Balance is the true harmony." GWL, Hanover, 14th January, 1697. Carbon dating impossible. Handwriting authentic. Forensic chemists swear the parchment's collagen matrix includes trace isotopes matching those in goat herds from Leibniz's era, yet atmospheric carbon matches present-day ratios. Paradox. Helena understands. The manuscript cube dyad, once reunited through shared cognition, has folded layers of time, allowed information, not bodies, to traverse strata. Leibniz's letter crossed centuries the way thoughts cross synapses. The philosopher's dream realized reality as a layered calculus of possibilities navigable by harmonized minds. Epilogue. The Library of Living Numbers. 2 years later, in a secured wing of the Royal Library of Belgium, visitors don silent headphones and sit before synchronized displays of Stratis and Abyssus. They chant guided antiphons. Some witness faint lattice glimmers. A plaque quotes Leibniz, "Music is the unconscious counting of the soul." Helena supervises, now professor of numeric hermeneutics, while Tomoko curates traveling exhibits. Inspector Vermeer's name appears on no memorial, his body never recovered, yet every year, on the explosion's anniversary, Helena receives an unsigned postcard picturing a Mobius strip and a single prime, 5077. She smiles, hearing distant echoes of a violin bow across bronze, and wonders which layer Vermeer now walks. Reality endures, but with thin seams of wonder newly visible, strata awaiting those who, guided by numbers and harmony, dare to read between the worlds.